our program today is themed on pilgrimage, and we're covering a pilgrimage to Scattery Island. But I think the Holy Father's taking it just a bit further than just a small island in the Shannon Estuary.
Yeah, and that's very appropriate, because when Pope Francis embarks on these papal trips, he himself says that he is a pilgrim going on a pilgrimage. Now, as you say, this is quite the pilgrimage. It's 20,000 miles round trip. This is the longest papal trip of his entire papacy since he became Pope in 2013. He is heading to, and he's there at the moment. He has been in Indonesia. He has been in Papua New Guinea at the time of this broadcast, and he is next heading to Timor-Leste, East Timor, and then also the island nation of Singapore. So over the course of 2 weeks, he is hitting 4 different countries, each one very different, from the affluent and the booming economy of Singapore to Timor East, where 40% of the people are under the poverty line, to the Muslim majority Indonesia, to the tribal, violent often country of Papua New Guinea. So it's an incredible Catholic church he is encountering in each of these places, and his visit will mean something slightly different to the people in each of those countries. But it was an honor for me in my work with EWTN, the Global Catholic Television Network, to go ahead of the Pope and visit not 1, not 2, not 3, but all 4 nations ahead of him. And the great thing about going before the Pope and not on the papal flight is that you get a chance to talk to people. You can meet the cardinals, meet the bishops, meet the faithful. Even in one case, we interviewed the president of Timor-Leste, and you really get time to sit down and find out, why is Pope Francis at 87 years of age leaving Vatican City in Rome and flying to the other side of the world to be with these people at this time?
And have you got an answer to why he's doing it?
Each one for a different reason. When he goes to Indonesia, he will be trying to further strengthen the bond between the Muslims and the Christians in that country. When I was doing my research about these different nations and looking up Indonesia and looking up the amount of Christians, you see that there are 29 million. And you think, whoa, this is a huge Christian country. And then you read on and it says, but there are 242 million Muslims, and then you realize, okay, Christians are in the minority. And it's interesting that in other parts of the world where you have a Muslim majority country with a minority of Christians, you often have conflict, you have Christian persecution, sometimes in very serious cases like in Nigeria with the kidnappings and the killings and the burning down of churches. But Indonesia is this example to the world of how the different faiths live in harmony. And it's something that even with the establishment of the nation after they came out of Dutch colonization, that the first president of the country made it one of the priorities that here in Indonesia, with their 270 something million people, we are going to live in harmony. And the cathedral was already built there in the capital, Jakarta. It's called the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Assumption. And so when they were building the national mosque, they originally had planned to build it in another part of town that was more heavily populated. And the president insisted, no, you will build it right across the road from the cathedral. You will be neighbors, you will encounter each other, you will get to know each other. And then the more you get to know each other, the less misconceptions, the less fears, the less things get in the way of you developing a friendship and a relationship. So they really have shown the world how that different religions with hugely different beliefs sometimes can live in harmony with relatively little, it's not always perfect, but relatively little hassle or problems.
I would commend to people to have a look at the video that you produced of the preview visit that you made to these 4 countries. It's a really good video. I mean, I don't have to say that, but it genuinely is, and I learned a lot from it. And you make that point. Haven't they got a tunnel between the cathedral and the mosque now?
The only thing... Wrong? No, you got that absolutely right, Stephen. The only thing separating the mosque, the grounds of the mosque from the grounds of the cathedral is a street, a very busy road. And they already share resources. So when, let's say, for example, Easter Sunday or Christmas Day, the mosque allow them to use their car park. And when there's a big event on for the Islam community, they use the car park of the cathedral. But the government has constructed this beautiful tunnel under the road that just brings you from one to the other. And the Pope is going to be one of the first people to use that. He will go underground and go from the grounds of the cathedral over to the mosque, where he will meet the Grand Imam, who we sat down with as well and talked to. So that's kind of what's happening in Indonesia. And then when you go across to the small nation of East Timor, which only got its independence, full independence, in 2002, what was really beautiful about that is that, they're a young, developing country. They're trying to find their footing in the world and on the global stage. And a great global world leader like Pope Francis, and the head of the biggest religion in the world, and it's a very predominantly Catholic country, for him to be coming to their small nation is a stamp. It's a reaffirming moment for them that they are this independent, sovereign nation. The last time a pope went was Pope John Paul II, and that was in 1989 when they were under Indonesian occupation. And the interesting thing, Stephen, is that if you remember, Pope John Paul II was famous for when he arrived in a country, like when he came to Ireland in the 70s, when he got off the plane and walked down the steps, the first thing he would famously do would be to kneel down and kiss the ground of that country. And when he went to East Timor in 1989, he had already just been in Indonesia, and he had kissed the ground in Jakarta, the capital. And then after being there for a while, he got on his plane and went to East Timor, but they were controlled by Indonesia. So he was caught in this kind of delicate area, because if he kissed the ground, it would have upset Indonesia because it's not a new country. If he didn't kiss the ground, it would upset the people in East Timor because they wanted their independence and they wanted the Holy Father to recognize them as a standalone country. So what they did was they put a pillow on the ground with a crucifix on it, and he knelt down, kissed the crucifix, took that and touched it against the ground. So it was just an ingenious sign of Vatican diplomacy that they still remember today. So this is a big moment for them in East Timor.
Good. So you come back now. How long were you away?
Between all the countries and Papua New Guinea as well, I was there for 2 weeks, exactly 2 weeks. Myself and my cameraman, Patrick Leonard, we travelled. Between the two of us, we had 24 flights over 2 weeks, getting up, finishing work every day at maybe 1, 2 in the morning, getting up at 6 a.m. for the next flight or the next filming. And the challenge with this is because we had to have the report on air. It had to be on TV before we came back. Normally we go and we film a lot, we come back, we have loads of time to edit it and make it look beautiful. But because we were right up against the visit of the Pope, we needed to broadcast it before he went on the trip because it's a preview. So we had to film every day, and then when we went back to the hotel, quick swim in the pool, and then on our laptops over dinner editing for hours what we had filmed that day, scripting, changing the scripts depending on what people had said. People were cancelling, changing times for interviews the following days, missed flights, visa problems, bags going missing along the way. So we had to coordinate all of that and keep smiling and wear the same shirt because you need continuity for television. So I was dry cleaning my shirt every second day in the hotels, and when people say, is there a God, is there proof? The fact that we pulled that off, that we had to have had divine intervention because we got it done.
Yeah, I see somebody in the comments on your video that we'll talk about how people can see it, but it said that how long did you wear that blue shirt for, Colm? So that's the secret. You dry clean it every evening. But it's an impressive piece of work. Seriously, it's very, very entertaining, but very interesting as well. So thank you. Well, Colm, thank you for contributing to this theme on pilgrimage that we've got running on Clare FM at the moment, and hearing all about the Pope and all the work behind the scenes that you have to do, that even someone like me who has some technical knowledge just didn't appreciate just how much work you and Patrick have to do. And you looked a bit tired when you came back, I'll be honest, but you're looking fresh and bright now. So a few days recovery in Rome and you're bouncing back again. So well done. Thank you so much for giving up time to join us this evening.
Stephen, I'm taking note of that. We need an extra makeup person on these trips to make me look less tired. Okay.
Thanks, Colm. Bye.
Thank you, Stephen.